We're on top of the grandstand now, and we're in the new director's room here at Portland Meadows with the chairman of the board of Portland Meadows, Mr. William Weinberg. Bill, you must be pretty proud of this plant, the way you have improved it, this room, and of course the big enclosed grandstand.
Well, we're trying to make it something that everybody will like, and I think that it's getting quite popular, and I think that the people appreciate it. And we're trying to keep on getting it a little bit better all the time.
How many years is this now for you at Portland Meadows?
This is 5 years as a part owner of it, but I was associated with it probably 10 years before that. I was a director in it before, and I watched its ups and downs.
What's the fascination for you for horse racing and specifically owning a racetrack?
Well, I think there's a challenge in it. The track operated for many years without success, and we kind of like to make things go. So I think that it's more of a challenge than anything else, and besides, we like it.
And you meet quite a few different kind of people in this business, do you not?
You can meet every kind of people in the world right here. If you don't have to go to Europe or South Africa or any place else, you've got all the people right here at the track.
Well, let's go out now and take a look at one of the races.
Is Roman in front of the outside by a neck. Joviality is second by a half a length. Joe Byrne is third on the inside by a length and a half. Mr. Challenge is now fourth by a neck. Bit of fire is fifth. On the extreme outside, Rusty Rage is now sixth. Real Rage is seventh. And Dooney's back. Round the turn, and it's Joviality in front by a neck. Joe Byrne is second by a length. 20's Roman is third by 3/4 of a length. The Rusty Rage is now fourth on the outside by a neck. Murahula is fifth by a half a length. On the extreme outside, Mr. Challenge is now sixth, and a real rate. Down the turn, turning the stretch, and Joe Byrne in front by a length. Joviality is second by a length. 20's Roman is third by 3 lengths. Mr. Challenge is now fourth by a half a length. Real Rage is fifth, and Murahula in the stretch, and it's now Joe Byrne in front by 2.5 lengths. 20's Roman is second by a length. Joviality is third by a length and a half, and the real rage on the outside. It's now Joe Byrne and 20's Roman. Joe Byrne, 20's Roman, and the real rage.
Stay out of your box, Charlie.
Get out of your box.
Get out of your box, Charlie.
And that wraps up our show from Portland Meadows. We'd like to thank all the officials here and all those who took part in today's show. And tomorrow here on Telescope, Connie will be back, and we'll have more guests for you on Telescope, along with Joe LaPrenzi and Ed Berry. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and there's still a little racing going on out here, but we're taking our leave of Portland Meadows. Doug LeMear saying good morning. This is Portland Meadows, the glass-enclosed grandstand. And this is Doug LeMear here at the track at Portland Meadows, where Telescope goes today. You know, here at the Meadows, most people think of the races as each race, as a day's racing card. But there's much more going on here, and it all starts early in the morning. We'll go across the track to the stable area in a few minutes. Right now, we're going to have a couple of commercials and then the news. Things begin in the wee small hours of the morning here at Portland Meadows. And to get the story on how the day begins, the director of racing here at Portland Meadows, Jimmy Woodward. Jimmy, how does the day begin for everybody? Horses, grooms, everyone.
Well, Doug, they start real early here in the morning with their horses. They start about 6 o'clock every morning. They start right off feeding their horses, graining their horses.
How much feed does a horse usually have? Let's say, does it vary from day to day, a day of racing, etc.?
It'll average with each feeding probably a gallon. They'll feed them a gallon of feed, plus a good bundle of hay, and some feed them hot bran mash and carrot mix, and there's just various types of feed they feed them with.
I imagine a feed bill is a very important part of a program for a horse owner and trainer.
Yes, it is at the present time with the cost of the hay and the grain and all the other materials involved. It runs into a pretty little costly deal.
After feeding, what happens?
Well, usually you'll see the trainers and the grooms all head for the kitchen for a half an hour, probably have coffee or an early breakfast, and the horses are eating, finishing up their breakfast, as they may call it, horses' breakfast, and then they come back and they continue with their training. Some of these horses will go to the track and just gallop, some will just walk, some will work, some pony. It's various types of training. And then they, after they've worked him, if they work a horse, they bring him back, they wash him off, they alcohol rub him, they go ahead and cool him out for about 30 minutes. Each horse is walked every morning for at least 30 minutes.
All right, we'll take a look at some of that program. Jimmy, I noticed a lot of the horses being walked here between the stable area. First, I want to ask you, how many stables are there here? How many horses are accommodated here at Portland Meadows?
We have about 17, we have 17 barn stables here, and we stable about 900 head of horses.
Now, what are these horses doing here? What phase of the program is this?
This is, some may have been to the track. I don't know for sure because I haven't checked them out. I think this one horse coming right now, this little brown horse, was at the track. That's the one that was down the stable there a little while ago because he's just taking the saddle off of him. But some of these horses may not have been to the track. Some may have been ponied, and some just may have walked what they call walking horses.
Well, in what phase of the program, for those who have been on the track, this is kind of a cooling out. How about the others? They just out for exercise?
Just an exercise, yeah. That's what about a 30-minute exercise each morning.
Now, what is the normal program for a horse, say, that's going to be on today's racing card? Will he go on the track? Or do most of them go on the track? Do most of them just take the walk? Or
Well, they'll go on the track usually the day before they race. They know it 2 days in advance if they're in a race. They usually go on the track the day before the race, and they what they call blow them out. I mean, use them up to about 3/8 of a mile at the most. Let a horse kind of get his self going and leg him out of it.
and how about the day of the race? What do
The
they
day
do?
of the race, they very seldom you see a horse go to the track the day of the race. They'll just walk him in the morning.
Early in the morning. Jim, I noticed this one horse here was doing a little dance for us a little while ago. How about the moods of horses?
Well, Doug, there's some horses that are a little fractious. Some are a little higher strung than others. Some are quiet, cool. They don't have no real bad faults. But this horse here that's going right now, he feels like he wants to get the racetrack, and I think he should be on the track right now instead of in this walk ring.
Some of the horses that are going to the track now for a morning workout, Jimmy, some of these fellows are not jockeys, are they?
Well, that boy on the front horse down there, that's little Emma, that's Jackie Palmer. He's going to go to the track. That filly is in Monday, I think, or maybe today. I've forgotten. But he's going to work her 3/8 of a mile. This big bay horse behind, that boy's just an exercise boy. That's Chub Peony, and that's Art Butler's Delson. But I think he's just going to gallop him. And now goes apprentice rider Lloyd Teller on a horse for Mr. Olson.
Speaking of apprentice riders, what determines how does a fellow become an apprentice? How does he move up to a jockey?
He rides 1 year after his first winner or 40 wins.
Of course, one of the most important things here in the track, condition of the horse and condition of shoes.
Yes, you've got to know where you're at when you start plating horses, Doug. This is Ed Spint. He's been working around the racetracks for the past 10 years plating horses and does a good job. We have about 10 or 12 platers here. They'll probably plate maybe, put shoes on maybe half a dozen or 10 horses a day.
How often does a horse have to have shoes changed?
This all depends on the trainer and the plater. Sometimes they want them changed real quick as they may be rapping, hitting, running down or something, so they may change them very often. And they do change them quite a bit when we have mud and put on what we call corks in the front of the horse's front shoes to keep them from sliding or slipping.
Of course, the question always asked by everybody is, how does the horse feel about this? Does this hurt?
It never has, I don't think, as long as they don't cut them too close, and a good plater don't do that very often. It's just like be cutting a fingernail too close. You'd have a hangnail or a burning fingertip.
This is kind of a lost art. We don't see many fellas doing this now.
Not for the workhorses of that type. We have a lot of them around the country at the racetracks. There's a lot of platers around racetracks.
Well, this horse doesn't seem to mind this at all.
He stands real still, Doug. He doesn't look like he wants to make any move at all. That's his trainer there, Bob Cook, and he seems to know who's got a hold of him, and he seems to know he's in good hands.
Horses kind of react to their people and confidence, do they not?
They get very well acquainted with their owners and trainers. They get used to them being around them all the time, and they get lost at times if somebody else takes a hold of them.
I've noticed a lot of girls seem to work around the area here, and I've always noticed that the gals like the horses.
They really do, Doug. We got a lot of women trainers. We got a lot of women. There goes a lady galloping horses. She's going to take that pony to that track to the horse to the track herself with a pony.
Ed, what are these shoes made of you're putting on now?
Oh, these are primarily aluminum and metal alloy. They're pretty hard. They're not as soft aluminum as you would think from the term aluminum.
How about the ones you use in the heavy track, on a heavy track? Jimmy was talking about cork. What does he mean by this?
Well, they have a mud sticker on them. They use it helps get a little traction and helps horse considerably hold the track. That's the idea of them.
How about the horses? Your reaction on the horses? Some horses, this one seems to be very well mannered. Others a little frightened of this.
Oh, you have a few of them that don't particularly care for it, but then they don't understand what's going on either. So,
how long does this usually take you?
To shoe a horse, you mean? Yeah. Well, it varies with the horse too, as far as that goes. How the horse reacts, all the way from 20 to 35 minutes, something like that.
How long you been doing this?
Oh, I've been shoeing on track about 10 years. I've been shoeing for considerably more, as far as that goes. Started as a kid on the farm.
Where's your home?
Billings, Montana.
Well, after a morning workout, it looks like even one of the dogs has found a good place to... Yeah. Get out of here. You found my sleeping spot, he says. We'll have more from Portland Meadows after these words. This is Doug LeMear along with Jimmy Woodward, the director of racing at Portland Meadows, and now we're going to watch some of the horses work out in one of the early morning workouts. And I understand you have a couple of sessions here during the morning, Jimmy.
Yes, we do, Doug. Right now, this stand we're standing by right now is what we call the guinea stand, or the grooms and trainers stand, watching their horses go on the track. Now, there's several horses out there now. Some are being ponied, some galloped, and some are actually working.
Jimmy, in workouts here on the track, we spoke of blowing them out. Means let them go all the way, and some of them now upcoming now is a fellow who is ponying a horse down here.
Yeah, a lot of horses are ponied, Doug. Here comes one now down the track, and you'll see maybe 50 head of horses on the track being ponied each morning. You see one on the front side over there now, and they rather than put the weight on them and tack them up, they just take them a flat mile with the pony.
Speaking of weight, we were talking earlier about some of the boys being apprentices and the jockeys and some exercise boys. Now, how about an exercise boy? How do some of the trainers feel about putting that extra weight on the horse?
Well, a good exercise boy is really a good lot of help to a trainer. Some exercise boys can handle 2-year-olds and young horses and little rank horses a little better than the riders do. So we'll have 15 or 20 exercise boys around here.
How about the weight on an exercise boy as against a jockey? Jockeys weigh average what, and what are the exercise boys?
Right here at the track, I imagine your average weight on a rider here is between 14 and 16 pounds. The exercise boys may go 25 or 30.
That's 100
Yeah, 125 or 30. Yes.
While we're on the subject of weights, of course, in the handicap races, and they go by weights. How do the weights figure in a horse race? Just what do they mean in distances?
Well, they usually go back when they're weighting horses for a handicap, Doug. They usually go back on their past performances, and they're running with the same group of horses and beating them. The way the horse finish, they're finishing where they finish in the race. Well, they take weights off and add weights to the ones that are in front, or the winners, second and third horses.
Now, how about per pound? Is there any way that
Well,
you
no,
can generally figure?
I never have. I've usually taken just the distance the horse got beat and the weight he carried before and how fast he run and how far he was going, and that's usually the way I put the weights on him. You use lengths as just a figure of the horse got beat maybe a length and a half. Well, you'd figure maybe he may pick up a pound, maybe 2 pounds. It just all depends on how far he beat him, how much weight he was carrying.
Jimmy, this girl's having a little bit of trouble with this horse.
She's got a problem, Doug. The little thing is acting up a bit, and she appears to be handling him pretty well. This pony boy can pick her up right now. This is our pony boy, our official pony boy coming down to pick her up. But she may have him straightened up before then, but not likely. This little pony's going to have a little problem. She's got her problem. But she's working on him pretty good right now. And that's Bill Davidson, our pony boy, working over there to pick him up. He'll help him get rolling along. She's got him going now, but both feet are out of the stirrups, Doug. There, she went out the gap, Doug. And
Jimmy, there's another one now. The boy's getting him out on the track. Did he have a little bit of tough time getting him out there?
yes, he's a little ranked this morning, Doug. It appears that it's Benny Thomas, our other pony boy. He's exercised horses in the morning. I don't know who the horse is, but looks like he's a green colt because he's got a heavy saddle on him. He's got a stock saddle on him, and he's got the stirrups all the way out. He's not going to gallop or work him or anything. He's just going to try to get him acquainted with the track, maybe gallop him.
Jimmy, here's another gal we notice is out exercising a horse.
Yeah, Doug, you'll see a lot of the young girls on these ponying horses, and you'll even see them galloping horses. This is Sheila McAllister. She's with the Viola Hardy stable. She also owns horses, and she ponies a lot of horses, and she also takes horses to the post, and she does a real good job. She's a real good horsewoman.
Got more action here off the track today than anything.
Looks like it's part of the Pendleton Roundup. Looks like this morning. That was pony boy Willard Wilkinson, one of his pony horses. The horse he was ponying got away from him, bouncing on through the stable area now.
Looks like the horse has got in mind where he wants to go.
They usually do now. They head pretty close to the barn where they come out of. It looks like along as John Nazareth. It looks like he's over there trying to pick him up now. Well, they'll get him up here in this here walk ring here. Somebody will pick him up. He's not going to go very far. He's not too full of run this morning. He just wanted to get away from that pony horse.
And after the workout, off the track and again into the walking ring, and we'll talk more about this in 1 minute after this. We are now located in the Tack Room here at Portland Meadows in the jockey's headquarters, and about an hour before the first race goes, this is a scene of activity. This is Halton Tapp, one of the valets here, and Halton, what is the Tack and Tack Room?
Well, a tack is saddles or whips, girts, lead pads, anything that's used in a race where they ride. That's it.
We're watching these fellows make up the tack now here? Now, just exactly what do they go through? And
Well, he
what is this with? This is all figured in the weight in the horses too, is it not?
Yes, He has to get the saddle, the girt, and then he gets a lead pad if he has to carry it, to make the weight, a rubber pad, and a overgirt, whip, and then he puts it in the box.
How
ready for
many?
the next
How
race.
many of these do you make up a day?
Oh, dear. Well, it depends on the number of races. Of course, there's nine horses in every race, and today there's 11 races, so you can figure it out. Some races 10 horses.
And I imagine you have to start pretty early in here, do you not?
Well, we start early in the morning cleaning the tack from the night before, and then get it ready for the day.
And I imagine that you don't like, as most people do not like, a good muddy track. It poses quite a problem, does it not?
It sure does, you bet. It's terrible.
Now, how about the rest of the jockeys' headquarters here? They all have lockers here and keep their equipment here?
Oh, yes, they all have a certain box, they call them, to put their tack in, and we keep it straight for them and cleaned and so forth.
And this area is a restricted area as far as the Racing Commission is concerned.
Absolutely. There's no one allowed in here but the officials or the valets or jockeys or.
Yeah, we got special clearance to get in here today. The leading jockey here at Portland Meadows, Lenny Knowles. And Lenny is having a very successful season. He has ridden over 60% of his mounts in the money this year. He's leading winner. And I know up until this program he had ridden almost 180 mounts and over 90 of them in the money. Lenny, are you satisfied with your performance this year, or what do you attribute your success?
A lot of racing luck on the racetrack during the races and having good horses to ride.
Speaking of good horses to ride, do you select all of them, or do you ride for a stables, or how is that determined?
No, I have an agent, and he goes around and talks to all the trainers, and tries to get me on the best mount he can.
Speaking of agents, this is an integral part of the jockey's life. Every jockey have an agent?
Yes, most of them. There might be a few in this area that don't. If they don't ride too many horses, they don't have one. But most of them, that's a necessity to have one.
We hear of jockeys making fabulous amounts of money in the big races. What does a jockey make, let's say, in a racing season here in Portland Meadows or some of the other tracks around this area? Do most jockeys just race in one area, or do they follow the circuit? Do they race down California, come up here, vice versa?
Well, most of the riders that are in this area here just ride up here in the Northwest, here Portland, and a few of them go to on to Long Acres, Seattle, and to Spokane, and they probably the average. This is the average rider income, possibly maybe around 7,000. That's just a guess. And then for the winter, if they wanted, they can go to Phoenix or down to Golden Gate or something else.
Do a lot of them have just regular jobs and work as jockeys in just, say, the Portland Meadows season?
Yes, they some of them just work here, and some go over to the Gresham and Salem fairs, and they got them find themselves some job for the winter months.
How about the big jockeys, Shoemaker and the ones we hear, Usury and those? They must make a fantastic amount from what we hear.
Yes, they do. I sure wish I had it.
Would you care to guess at what they make in a year?
Well, I imagine Shoemaker has to make over $1 million a year. And I mean, he's probably the highest pay. I mean, he gets probably more income than any other rider in America.
Big problem. Is it a problem for the jockeys, the weight?
Yes, I think it's getting more so, I think, in later years here. It's like you don't find as many small boys as they used to be as riders. And they, I'd say, probably 95 to 98% of the riders have to watch their weight.
What do you weigh?
115.
How do you watch your weight?
Well, I eat very little. I eat steaks and a lot of steaks and salads and eggs, like that, to keep up my strength and still not have and get good vitamins out of it without having too much food.
What do you avoid? I'm picking up a couple of secrets here if I can.
Well, all fattening foods, all starches of any sort. That's the thing that puts on weight.
How about when you get on that scale and you've picked up a pound or two, or do you vary? How much do you vary in weight?
You mean
Personally, yes. During the racing season, do you pick up a pound or two very easily?
yes, I do, and I have to go to the steam room every day to pull 2 or 3 pounds.
That's here at the Meadows here.
Yes.
And that'll take it off of you. How long do you have to stay in a steam room?
Oh, approximately pull 3 pounds, about almost 2 hours.
You'll pick that back up, though, will you not, after the races are over, and you'll drink it back on in juices or water or something?
Yes, I will. Yeah,
It's just a liquid then that you really dry out.
yes. Yeah, if you put it back on as quick as as a person that's dehydrated like that, you put on weight quicker than you would a normal person would just drinking liquid like that.
I notice in watching the races that some jockeys will use a whip sometimes they do not. Where do you get your instructions or make the decision to use the whip?
Well, the trainer decides he's tried the horse with the whip, and if it hinders the horse in any way, the horse won't run from it. Then they get permission from the stewards to take the whip off the horse, and then they ride him without a whip.
Now, who really makes the decisions on how a horse is to be ridden? That is, should you lay off the pace and try to bring him on from behind, or get out front and keep it? Does the trainer give you the instruction, the owner? Do you make this decision?
Well, the trainer does to an extent, and then he leaves the rest up to the rider. I mean, something's going to happen in a race that you can't foresee, and you can't say go to the front or just lay second or third or fourth, because there might be some more speed horses in there that you don't think there are going to be, and so you have to just think for yourself and ride the race as it comes up.
What do you like? Do you like a horse that's out front, or do you like to come from behind?
Oh, I don't really care either way. I've been both ways. It doesn't really matter to me.
Thank you, Lenny, very much.
Thank you, Doug.
And while the jockeys down below are getting ready for the first race, the first arrivals are coming in and getting into the grandstand, and we are located now here in the dining area of the Turf Club, where they can accommodate over 200 people, and they serve everything from breakfast right up through dinner, including steaks, lobsters, anything you desire. It's a very plush setup, and the fan who comes here can enjoy the food and enjoy the racing as he's inside this glass enclosed grandstand, and it's temperature controlled, and when it's cool out here in the evenings, it's nice and warm inside. And of course, it's always nice inside, even though the temperature may get up high on the outside. We're now in the weigh-in area here in the Tack Room with Charles Hunter, General Manager of Portland Meadows, and also an official capacity as a steward. And Charles, exactly how important is the weigh-in?
Well, believe me, it's very important. These boys have to weigh exactly the amount specified on the program, and it has to be exact.
Not within just a half a pound or something. It has to be.
No, it's got to be right on the nose, or at least a quarter or half a pound over.
Now, what do they do? Let's watch. We're going to watch one of the weigh-ins here for a race, and you can explain exactly what they do.
Well, now, this is Dennis Anderson. He's weighing in. He's supposed to do 120 with his tack. And Mr. Folk here, the clerk of scales, has just checked him, and we'll mark off on the scale sheet. Now, this boy calls on the program for 118. If you'll notice, he was exactly 118. These valets are old hands at the game. They make this tack up so it comes right on the nose. Now, look at that. There's 118 just exactly.
Well, now, then they also check them after the race, too.
Yes, and the rules of the Oregon racing rules specify that a boy has to weigh within 1 pound under and not over 2 pounds over. Unless, of course, we have real wet, rainy conditions, then a boy will be over.
Now, how much will they be over? Imagine if they pick up some mud on a muddy track, they must get way over.
One time at Gresham, I saw a boy that trailed the field all the way around the track. He picked up 13 pounds of mud and water.
13 pounds?
13 pounds, yes.
He must have been pretty well caked.
He was, yeah.
What's the normal, like if they come in and say in a muddy track and they're pretty well caked up with mud and water. What,
Oh, they'll
5,
pick
6
up-
pounds?
No, 3 or 4 pounds.
That's all.
Yeah.
But they do have to weigh out within 2.
They have to weigh out, if the track is dry under normal conditions, they will have to weigh out or weigh in after the race, not over 1 pound under or 2 pounds over.
So that weight problem for them, plus their tack, is right on the nose. It must
Right
be.
on the nose. This is Kenny Coppernoll.
He said put in a pound. Now, how do they do that?
That pound of lead will go in the lead pad.
Now, after the weigh-in, the jockeys will move out here to the paddock. And we'll talk about the paddock area and what goes on here in a few minutes after these words from our sponsors. We're here in the paddock area at Portland Meadows talking with Ralph Snowden, racing secretary and patrol judge, and as the jockeys move out here to go to their mounts, Ralph, what is the paddock area? Exactly what is it for?
Well, we call this the final assembling area of where the horses come previous to going out on the track for the race, where they come to be identified and their equipment checked, and the various trainers give the jockeys the last minute instructions on how to ride their horses. And this is where the people come to see the last time they see the horses before they go on the track.
A lot of people have a fetish about this place. They kind of pick their horses and make their bets when they're in here practically.
That's right. You're very correct about that. I believe the horses, sometimes if they're a little fractious or they like the looks of them, they see how they're acting, they're nice and calm and collected. They think, well, that horse looks like he's ready to run right now. I think I'll make a little wager on him.
Well, I imagine that the horse kind of gets used to this and it's a part of the day routine.
Yes, it certainly is. In fact, a lot of young horses have to be schooled here in the paddock because sometimes it's a strange place to them. But after they've run once or twice, it's just like home to them, and they know what they're here for. And I think it is part of the racing game and a very important part of it, the paddock with all the preparations and everything. And it kind of builds up quite an image of the race, I would say.
Well, we'll watch them as they're being prepared here, and then we'll watch them as they move out onto the track and pick them up out there.
All right, Doug.
Now the horses are coming on the track for the third race of the afternoon at 6 furlongs. The race are called in approximately 9 minutes.
And as the horses are going to the back stretch to go to the starting gate, you can see the beautiful infield here at Portland Meadows, which is actually a 9-hole pitch and putt golf course. Well kept, and off to the south, which would be to our right, is a driving range for practice. And this golf course actually laid out on the infield there has a couple of putting greens, practice putting greens down by the tote board. And as we're panning around, you can see also in the southern end the driving range. And of course, between races, they surface the track, make the surface as well as they can for the next race. And every once in a while, you'll see the sprinkler go by, and they'll keep the dust down and keep the same texture for the entire day's racing.
There they go. Go, honey, go is taking command on the outside by a neck of June horses. Conchiki is second by 1 length. Dina's Baby is third by a neck. Mr. McCaw is fourth by a half a length. Mr. Terry is now fifth by 2.5 lengths. Ricky's Image is sixth. Direct Contact is seventh. Good Mixture is eighth. And a Black Mixture. Down the back stretch, and it's Conchiki in front by a length. Dina's Baby is second by 3/4 of a length. Mr. McCaw is third by a half a length. Go, Honey, Go is fourth on the outside by a length and a half. Mr. Terry is now fifth by a neck. Ricky's Image is sixth by 5 lengths, and Direct Contact. Around the turn, And it's Con Cheeky now in front by a length and a half. Deaner's Baby is second by 3/4 of a length. Mr. McCaw is now third by a length and a half. Go Honey Go is fourth by Paddock. Ricky's Image is now fifth. Hand-direct contact. Into the stretch, and it's Con Cheeky now in front by 3 lengths. And between horses, Mr. McCaw is second by a half a length. Deaner's Baby is third. It's Con Cheeky and Mr. McCaw moving on the outside. Con Cheeky, Mr. McCaw, and between horses, Go Honey Go. Now Mr. McCaw, Con Cheeky, direct contact, and Ricky's Image.
Well, before each race, the people make their bets and decide what horse they're going to bet on. Behind the scenes, though, there's a lot of work going on. And we're in the calculating room here at Portland Meadows, and with Robert McGrew, the manager of Mutuals, and Bob, what goes on back here?
Well, Doug, we take the figures that a public has bet on the horses, each individual horse and the total pool, and then we figure the payoff prices. That's the prime purpose of this room.
And as soon as that post time goes up out there, that locks all the machines, the betting machine?
As when the steward, when they release the horses from the gate, the steward presses a button, rings a bell, and all the machines are locked tight. You can't get a ticket after the bell rings.
And then you take those figures in here in your calculating room and figure up what the payoff is after you know the winner.
Yes. Well, before we get the winner, we're adding the pool and adding the amount of money on each individual horse so that we know when the race is over, when we get the results, then we can compute the prices, the payoff prices.
How long does that take?
Well, it usually, if we don't have a close finish, if there's not a real close picture, we usually know, get a call from the steward telling us what horse to figure. And we usually try to get the prices out within 55 seconds to a minute and 15 seconds.
That's a far cry from the old days when I used to have to figure it.
That is true. In the old days, we used to have to go down behind the windows with a pad, count the tickets that the sellers sold, and start figuring from there. But now it's cut to a tenth of this time.
Thank you very much, Bob McGrew, the manager of Mutuals, and we'll go to another portion of Portland Meadows here in a minute.